Hi, it's Eva Cartman, and you're listening to the Dream Big podcast show, the place to go to learn, laugh, and grow. Today we welcome Billy Shore, who has a big dream, a dream to end child hunger in America. And he has a plan to make that big dream a reality. It's episode 73, Big Dreamers. You ready? It's time to dream big.
Welcome to the Dream Big podcast show. We're inspiring you to shoot for the moon, take aim and go. We bring to you amazing guests who truly love what they do. Every day they're living their dreams, and so can you. Dream big, take action to reach your goals. Are you pumped yet? It's showtime, let's rock and roll.
Welcome to the Dream Big podcast show. I am your host, Eva Cartman, and today I'd like to start by telling you about a special gift we have for all you big dreamers. We had an amazing illustrator help us create our very own Dream Big journal that we want to ship to you. And the best part is that we were able to personalize the journal with their own face and name. And on the front cover, you actually will see yourself as an astronaut floating in outer space. Oh, and it's free. Parents, please go to dreambigpodcast.com to claim your free personalized Dream Big journal while this offer is still available. And you'll see a video of my mom and I showing our journals. Go to dreambigpodcast.com to get your free journal. And of course, a quick shout out to the review of the week. This is from Thomas and reads, "The quality of the guests Eva is able to attract is off the charts. She actually had a conversation with General Stanley McChrystal, who led our troops in Afghanistan. And she's incredibly composed while she talks to these incredibly influential people." Thank you, Thomas, for that very kind review. Big Dreamers, if you would like to hear me possibly read your review on the show, then be sure to leave a review on the iTunes. And we are so appreciative of your support. It's time for you all to enjoy our episode with Billy Shore. The interview starts out with some startling statistics about child hunger in America. To be honest, when I first heard the stats, it made me very sad. At the same time, Billy's passion to end child hunger made me feel incredibly inspired and realize that big dreams like that are achievable if we work together. Be sure to check out our show notes at dreambigpodcast.com/73, where we'll have links to everything discussed on the episode, including links to how you can get involved with the No Kid Hungry campaign and be a part of the solution to end child hunger. And without further ado, here's our interview with Billy Shore. Let's roll the tape. Hi, Billy.
Hi, Eva. How are you?
Good. We are so excited to have you on our show.
Well, I'm so excited to be on it. It's great to meet you.
Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Olga.
First off, I just have to say that my mom and I were really shocked when we saw the status about child hunger in the United States. We've had many guests on our show who are doing incredible work in countries like Africa and India.
Yeah, it's
But,
usually poor
yeah.
countries, right?
Yeah, that where the kids don't have much food and stuff like that. But
I know. People don't really
yeah.
expect there to be so many hungry kids in the United States, right?
Yeah, it was shocking when we found out when there were so many kids in the United States that didn't have food, like you said.
Billy, you can share stats about hungry kids
Yeah.
in America?
Well, you know, we've got like 22 million kids in the United States who, because their families are so poor, they get a free or reduced price school lunch or school breakfast. And, you know, kids in this country aren't hungry for the same reasons that kids are around the rest of the world. Around the rest of the world, it's usually because of war or famine or drought. But here it's because of poverty and because their parents haven't been able to find jobs that pay enough for them to be able to support their families. The good news is we don't have any shortage of food like a lot of countries have, and we don't have any shortage of food programs. So we think it's a very solvable problem by connecting kids to these programs that exist.
That's a
Yeah.
great mission.
Those are just numbers that we should not and cannot accept. No human, yet alone a child, should ever go to bed hungry.
No, that's right. And when kids are hungry, they're not able to pay attention in school. They're not able to learn very well. They end up not doing very well. They end up going to the nurse's office a lot. They have headaches and stomach aches. So it really affects a lot of things. So, it affects, obviously we feel bad for kids who are hungry and we don't want that to happen to them, but it also impacts our schools and it impacts their health. And really it touches all of us.
It affects their future.
Yeah. When did you first become aware that this was a real problem in the United States and decide to dedicate so much of your life's work to this cause?
Well, we started working on it when, like a lot of people, we started to think about kids who were dying of hunger in other parts of the world, like in Africa and specifically in Ethiopia. They had a big famine there many years ago. But as we were working on it, we had a lot of people in the United States saying, we have problems in our own community, or my own neighborhood has a food bank that doesn't have enough supplies, or we have neighbors, we've seen homeless people here. So people encouraged us to work in the United States. And as we started to do that, we realized that, hunger is a problem in a lot of our communities, and it affects kids, many of them, but it also affects adults. It affects seniors. It affects veterans. So think of somebody who's gone and, fought in Iraq or Afghanistan and comes back and doesn't have enough to eat. That really doesn't seem right. And so with my sister, we decided to start this organization, Share Our Strength, so that we could organize people to raise money to do something about it.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine that when you started this organization that Share Our Strength would have this big of an impact?
Well, we hoped it would. We had no idea of knowing what was going to happen. When we started it, we really didn't have a lot of money. So we borrowed some money on a credit card, about $2,000. But then we started to ask other people for help and find ways that people could get involved. We started to go to a lot of chefs and restaurateurs. We all have favorite restaurants that we go to. And we started, since they, make their living from feeding people, we asked them if they would want to help feed hungry people by helping us raise money. And thousands and thousands of them said yes. And so, now we've raised about $600 million. And as I say, I don't think we knew at the time what it would look like, but we knew that we were going to have to stick with this for a long time to make a difference. And that if we did, things would start to grow.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Number.
And big dreamers, you should always be grateful for what you have. If you go to bed under the roof of your house and you have a place to live and maybe you have,
right?
Yeah, then you should be grateful for the stuff you have.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
And
some people don't have the stuff that you have, and you shouldn't say at dinner, I want something else. I don't.
right.
I don't like this.
I don't like this.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great lesson, Eva. Thank you.
And also, I think most of us, separate from material things like our food and our houses, we have strengths to share. Like the name of our organization is Share Our Strength, because we all have something that we're good at, something that we could share, some skill or some talent that could make a difference in somebody else's life.
Yeah.
I know a big focus, Billy, of Share Your Strength has been is the No Kid Hungry campaign. I think that's the perfect name for the campaign, and you're doing such a great job with that. Can you please share what are actions that have been taken besides just going to chefs and at the restaurants? What else do you do, and how our listeners can help you as well?
Yeah. Well, so the idea of the No Kid Hungry campaign is to make sure that we connect kids in America who are hungry with the programs that can help them. So of the money we raise, some of it goes to food banks and, programs that help families who need emergency food, but most of it goes to make sure that kids in school get healthy school breakfast and a healthy school lunch. Our government set up a program many years ago. It was actually generals and admirals after World War II came to the government and said, our soldiers weren't strong enough because they weren't eating well enough. And so we created this program called the School Breakfast Program and the School Lunch Program. And what we do is we make sure that all the kids who are eligible participate in those programs. So we go into schools, we make sure they have the equipment they need to feed kids. We make sure that there's transportation that gets the kids to school on time. So just for example, we've added 3 million kids in the country to the school breakfast program over the last 8 years. And those are kids who, were not getting breakfast before. Now they're getting it. We're seeing that their test scores are better. Their attendance is better. So it helps in a lot of ways. And, to your question about how can people get involved, there's a role for everybody in this issue. Everybody can volunteer. You can donate. You can volunteer at a school or at a food bank or a soup kitchen. You can donate funds. You can write to your mayor or your governor or your member of Congress. So if anybody went online and Googled NoKidHungry.org, they would find out lots of ways to participate in our events.
That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to be part of it. And we always get emails, hey, you had this guest, how do we get involved, and so on. So thank you so much, Billy, for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And one of the things I heard you say in a video was that the goal of Share Your Strength is not to feed kids, but rather to end hunger for kids. Why is your choice of wording there so important, feeding hungry kids versus ending hunger for kids?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you picked up on that because, there's a lot of issues that we don't know how to solve in our world, and we try to make things better. And we think this is one that you could actually solve for good. And so, if you set up the right programs in the right communities, like the school meals that I was talking about, you could get to the point where every kid is getting 3 meals a day. And even if kids are poor, because, a lot of families will probably always be poor, just the way our economy works. That doesn't mean that the kids have to be hungry. That doesn't mean they can't participate in these programs. So we really think it's a solvable problem and that you could end childhood hunger. And when we do, then we can work on other issues that are important to kids, other things they need, help make sure they have great schools and great health care and have a chance to get out of poverty. But we think it's important not just to feed kids, but to actually put the programs in place that would end childhood hunger so that we could go fight the next problem.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think it really sums up the difference between a dream and a big dream. It's awesome to make a positive impact in the world. Let's say by taking some cans to your local food bank, like you said before. But when you have a big dream, like ending childhood hunger, then you have to take massive action in order to achieve those goals. And that's exactly what you have done, Billy, along with everyone else at Share Your Strength.
Well, thank you. And I think, who I think dreams the biggest of all are kids and young people. So they're so important to solving this problem. I hope a lot of them are listening and a lot of them will help us.
Right. And we heard from a lot of our guests that, for example, breakfast is very important, right? When you start your day right, you eat breakfast.
You eat a healthy breakfast.
Yes. Then you focus better and you pay attention more. And as Billy said, that the scores are higher and better. So I would encourage our big dreamers, little dreamers, to always have healthy breakfast and make sure it's maybe hot breakfast, right? You like hot breakfast or cold breakfast?
I love hot breakfast, like maybe oatmeal, and then I asked my mom to boil me eggs the night before, and I eat them in the morning.
Yeah, so you have some protein.
Yeah, some hot and cold.
Yeah, well, we eat alike, Eva, because I eat a lot of oatmeal. My wife makes the best oatmeal of anybody, maybe even as good as your mom's.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Billy, I know that you also started your own podcast with your colleagues here on
Yes.
in the podcasting world. What do you talk? What's it called, and what do you talk about on your podcast?
Yeah, it's called Add Passion and Stir. And on every episode, we do one every week. We always have a chef, somebody who really knows how to cook and probably works at a great restaurant. We always have a chef as a guest, and we always have a second guest who is working on making the world better, either because they're working to improve schools or they're working to get people jobs or to improve the environment. And we talk about all the connections between food and all of these other things that we care about, because food affects it affects our health. It affects our healthcare system and our health costs. It affects the environment in a lot of ways. Climate change is related to food, and sustainability is related to food. So we have really great conversations with chefs and others who, and it's called Add Passion and Stir because they're so passionate about getting involved in the community. I think they're big dreamers, just like you talk about. They all have ideas on how being a chef can include not just cooking for people, but really making a difference where they live and in their country. So that's the idea, is to apply their passion so that their dreams become a reality.
That's so cool. So tell me about your childhood. Did your parents make you eat breakfast and you sometimes said no? Like, how were you when you were a child?
Yeah, I was actually a pretty picky eater, so my parents were very patient with me.
That sounds like someone.
But they kept a cookie jar, and there were always a lot of cookies in it. And I still eat a lot of cookies today, probably more than I should. But they were very good parents, and they made sure that my sister and I had everything we needed.
Were they surprised when you started this company with your sister and knowing your relationship with food?
I think they were. I think they really liked the idea that my sister and I worked together. But they did tease me a lot about the fact that I was such a picky eater.
And you still work together, right?
Yeah, we've been working together for a long time, for more than 30 years. And my sister and I started Share Our Strength together. Now we have a staff of about 200 who help us get into all the major cities in America and work in the schools and work with the elected officials to make sure kids get fed.
Speaking of when you were younger, if you go back in time and talk to your 10-year-old self, what would be the best advice?
Well, I wish there'd been a podcast like this when I was 10 years old, Eva, because, you could get to meet and be inspired by so many people. But I think, what you talk about in terms of dreaming big, I think that's the most important thing. And lots of times, when you're young, people have all kind of reasons to tell you why something's not going to work. And if you really believe in it, if you think it's the right thing to do, you just gotta keep at it. So I think that's the advice I'd give myself, my 10-year-old self.
Thank you. That's great advice. Thank
you.
What do you consider is your greatest achievement so far?
Well, I think in a way, probably just, starting Share Our Strength and making sure that it has been such a strong organization and that it's grown. One of the things we do at Share Our Strength that's been kind of a fun personal achievement for me is we do a 300-mile bike ride every year, 100 miles a day for 3 days with chefs to raise money for the No Kid Hungry campaign. And so I've done it each of the last 3 years. So it's a lot of work, a lot of training. You have to get yourself into really good shape. And it's just hard to ride 100 miles a day. But my 12-year-old son rode the last 30 miles with me last year. And so you might be at the point, Eva, pretty soon where you can join us.
Really cool. Where do you ride?
We ride in California down the coast, 100 miles a day, like from Santa Barbara to San Diego or Carmel to Santa Barbara. We're going to do a ride on the East Coast this year in Virginia. So when we have a couple hundred riders, it's really fun.
Ooh, I'd love to do that.
It's in our neighborhood, so we should definitely join you. Eva loves riding bike.
Yeah.
So you'll have to Google Chef's Cycle. That's what it's called, Chef's Cycle, and you'll have more fun than you've ever had.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Bill, I'm sure that along the way, while you were achieving your dream, you had a lot of doubts. Some things didn't work. What helped you to pursue your dreams? What helped you to go on? Because a lot of times when we're passionate about something, it doesn't mean it's easy, right? How was your story?
Well, no, you're absolutely right. So when we first started Share Our Strength, we went, we were trying to raise money to get started so that we could give the money to people who were buy food for people who were hungry. And days and days and days went by, then weeks, then months where nobody gave us any money at all. And we really had to hang in there. But, we felt like we were doing the right thing. We felt like we were doing something we really loved doing. And, the really great things take a long time to build. Nothing really great happens overnight. You have to stick with it. And we were just stubborn and had that belief that if we stayed with it, it would eventually make a difference, which turned out to be the case.
It's so true. It's like Eva, when she started her own podcast, a lot of people said no, and they didn't come for the interview.
Yeah.
Right, Eva? But she kept,
Right.
we kept making a list of new people, filming new invites, and
Yeah,
emails.
and now I really want to get at least one of I have 4 people which I really want to be on which I really want them to be on the show, and
You're just gonna keep pushing,
and
right? You're
yeah,
keep inviting them.
they have.
Oh, I have a feeling you'll get them.
Well, so if our big dreamers have any connections to judges in America's Got Talent,
Yeah.
to have at least one of them. So
Oh,
big
that'd be
dreamers,
fun.
let us know if you have any connections to them.
Yeah, I don't think I'll do, but I'll keep my ears open.
Awesome. Thank you, Billy. So we have a couple of last questions that we want to ask you. And I am interested, Billy, what do you do for fun? We heard about cycling. We heard about trying new foods and working with chefs. And you have a son and an amazing wife that cooks you.
Oatmeal for breakfast.
Yes. What else do you do for fun? Where do you like to travel?
We do a lot of, we travel quite a bit. Like last year, we took our son to the Grand Canyon and we did some hiking. That was really great. He's learning how to sail, so I've been sailing with him. He and I got scuba diving certified. So, kids are the path to a lot of fun things. So anything he wants to do, I usually want to do with him, and we have a blast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we have 2 more questions, which
Okay.
I want to ask. Okay, you have already made many of your dreams a reality, but if you look at yourself today, what is your big dream for the future?
Well, I really want to do more. That's a great question, Eva. I really want to do more than just end childhood hunger. I really want to make sure that we eliminate child poverty in this country, because kids who are really, really poor, they not only don't have food, but there's so many other things they don't have, mostly opportunities to get to have fun and grow and be healthy and get a job that is meaningful to them. So that's my goal, is that we're successful in ending childhood hunger, and then we can make sure that kids don't live in poverty at all.
And we appreciate you coming on our show and sharing this.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that, and they can connect with you, with your organization. And at the same time, they can do something as well to end the hunger and the poverty. Billy, would it be like, can you give advice to our listeners? What can they do right away,
To
right
help.
now,
To help.
Well, I think they could be involved in, lots of ways to volunteer, to mentor, to coach, getting involved with kids at a Boys and Girls Club or Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization. There's so many nonprofits that are set up to help children that I think volunteering in those, donate money if you can, but just volunteering in those makes a big, big difference.
Yeah, a lot
Perfect.
of times it just that support and few words of encouragement really can change child's life. So please, big dreamers and little dreamers, make sure you do that.
Where can our audience find out more about you?
Well, probably, like everything else today, go to the website, nokidhungry.org or shareourstrength.org, and there's lots of information about our programs, our events, where we spend our money, the people that we've helped, lots of short videos that people can watch. I think that's probably the best thing, is nokidhungry.org.
That's awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Billy, for coming
Thank
on the
you.
show. And again, to sum up our conversation, we would say that the numbers that Billy shared and the mission that they have behind their organization and things they do, just to show us that we are all in the same society, and we all should help each other. And if you can, please help children and adults. If you see they're in need, you can ask how you can help, and maybe it will be advice, maybe it will be a lunch, maybe it will be a hot breakfast or something.
Yeah.
Because those numbers that Billy shared with us, we should not and cannot accept. And no human, yet alone child, should ever go to bed hungry.
Well, I can't say it better than you just did. Thank you so much. I hope everybody listens to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
That was one of my favorite episodes. We talk a lot about big dreams and taking massive action on the Dream Big podcast. And it is hard to find a better example of that than what Billy is doing with his big dream to end child hunger through the No Kid Hungry campaign. Be sure to check out our show notes at dreambigpodcast.com/73 for links to everything else we discuss in the episode and learn more about how you can get involved. When you go to the show notes, you'll see a place to sign up for our insider newsletter, where we send exclusive content, including a free audio that I made on my top 10 tips for making and keeping great friends. This audio is only available for those who subscribe, and I know this will really help you, so please be sure to have your parents join the newsletter to get it. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Eva Cartman reminding you that you have unlimited potential. Your dreams are not optional. You need to make them essential. So take massive action to turn those big dreams into reality. Live with passion, the way life is meant to be. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!